look at the stitch. What is the stitch number 5? So this is square number 5 for the Tunisian sampler Afghan that we're working on. Here's a look at the front. Here is a look at the back. It's a really cool stitch. I like how this is all raised. Anyway, so this stitch does not require multiples of anything. It is a 2-row repeat. So yeah, let's get started with this. I've already showed you how to do the slip knot several times, and since this is video number 5, I'm not going to show you from here on out how to do that or the chain, and I'll probably stop showing you how to do the foundation row too. If you need to learn how to do that, you can watch videos either 1 through 3 for this Afghan sampler, or what is it, the sampler throw? I don't know, there's a playlist for it. Otherwise, you can watch the Tunisian 101 class. And then I show you how to do the foundation row, the slip knot, all of this. Okay, so let's begin. Like I said, you don't need multiples of anything. If you're making this 8 by 8 inch square, or I think it's 20 centimeters by 20 centimeters, you're gonna need to chain 30. Otherwise, you can chain however many you want, which is what I'm gonna do here, just to make a small sample and show you how to do the stitch. Now this stitch is super, super simple. I think I may have said it's a 2-row repeat, but if I didn't, it's a 2-row repeat. So I think this should be a long enough chain. All right, so we're gonna go with the foundation row. So you skip the first stitch, go into the second one, and you just cast on. To cast on, you insert your hook into the stitch, yarn over, and pull up a loop. So in, yarn over, pull up a loop, and so forth. By the time you finish, you should have the same number of loops on your hook as number of chains that you crocheted. So if you're making the sampler square, then you should have 30 loops on your hook by the time you're done. All right, so for the return pass, you're gonna yarn over and pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2 for all of the remaining loops on your hook. Again, this is something we've done in many videos, so I'm not gonna slow it down necessarily for this one. And then once you are left with just 1 loop on your hook, we're gonna move on to row number 2. So here's a look at your foundation row. You're always going to skip the first vertical stitch because you already have that on your hook. So this one right here, it's right there. Beginning on this second vertical stitch, you're going to yarn over, and then you're going to Tunisian simple stitch using the top leg of the vertical stitch. And you're gonna have 2 loops on your hook. This first one doesn't count, so you've already cast on 2. You're going to yarn over and pull through both of those loops to make a knot, like that. And then you're gonna repeat in the next vertical stitch. So you're going to yarn over, so here's the first of 2 loops we're gonna cast on, so there's 1. Then you're going to Tunisian simple stitch, so that you've pulled up 2 loops, and then you yarn over and pull through both of them. So you should only be left with 1. So see, we're on the 3rd vertical stitch, and we only have 3 loops on our hook. All right, so repeat here on the next one. So yarn over, Tunisian simple stitch, and then yarn over, pull through 2. Repeat in all of the vertical stitches of the row, and then when you get to the end, you're just going to cast on into that final stitch. So I'm trying to work through this quickly so I don't have to switch off the camera, but here we go. We got what, 2 more? So 1, and then we're at the end. So here's that final stitch of the row. It's right there. You're going to cast on, and there you go. So for the return pass, you need to loosen up this last vertical stitch in order to make the stitch tall enough to be the same height as this first one, because as you've been crocheting and casting on all of these stitches, this first stitch has been loosening up. So instead of trying to tighten it up and then crocheting, that's going to be really hard and it's going to start to hurt your hands. So just cast on all of your stitches, and when you get to the end of the row, loosen up this final stitch and then begin your return pass. So I like to just pinch the stitch here at the bottom so that I don't lose all of this space that I created. So just yarn over, pull through 1, and then yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over, pull through 2, until you complete the return pass. And there you go. So we got 1 loop left. So here's row number 1. Row number 2 is just a row of knit stitch. So beginning on that second vertical stitch of the row, here are the 2 legs that make up the vertical stitch. You're going to insert your hook between both of them and then just go to the back of the fabric. Yarn over and pull up a loop. So that's a knit stitch. So repeat in the next one. So insert your hook between the two legs of the vertical stitch, like so, yarn over and pull up a loop. So knit stitch all the way across, cast on into the final stitch of the row, which is this bottom one right here. And then for this row, you also just want to loosen up that final loop or stitch that you've cast on, and then yarn over, pull through one, and then yarn over, pull through two, and repeat until you complete the return pass. So for the return pass, it's the same, just the regular one. Yarn over, pull through one, yarn over, pull through two until you complete it. And this is for every single one of the rows. All right, so then you're going to repeat rows number 1 and rows number 2 until you have a total of 21 rows. So for row number 21, you're going to end in a row 1 repeat. So I'll cast on another row 1 repeat. So it's going to be row number 3, but we're just going to pretend that it is row number 21 so that I can show you how to do the bind off. So let me cast this on. I'll complete the return pass as well, and then I'll come back and show you how to do that bind off. Bind off, and now we're pretending that this is row number 21. So we're going to do the bind off at row number 22. So for row number 22, you're going to cast on Tunisian simple stitch instead of a knit stitch. So you're going to skip this first vertical stitch and go into the second one, and you're going to insert your hook behind the top leg of the stitch, yarn over, and pull up a loop. Once you have both loops, you're going to slip stitch. So pull this top loop through the bottom one, and then move on to the next one. So here's the next vertical stitch. You're going to Tunisian simple stitch, and then close as a slip stitch. So again, Tunisian simple stitch, slip stitch. That way you're just left with one loop on your hook, and you close off the rest of the stitches. So for those of you that need just a quick refresh, the Tunisian simple stitch, you just grab this top leg. So for the knit stitch, we went all the way back. For the simple stitch, you just go across like this, and then slip stitch. You're going to do this until you get to the final stitch of the row. That one you're also going to just cast on, since you don't exactly Tunisian stitch on the last one. So let me show you. Here's that final stitch. You're just going to cast on into the final stitch of the row, slip stitch, and then you're going to chain one. The chain one is going to make a small little knot here, like that. Cut your yarn, pull your hook and your yarn through, so you're going to be left with 2 threads like this, and that's it. And then you just go through, weave in your ends, and you are done. Now some, I guess, troubleshooting, because as you can see, this one kind of tends to tilt a little bit towards the right if you're right-handed. It'll tilt towards the left if you're left-handed. But if you see that this side is a little bit shorter than this side, that's where at the end of the row, once you've cast on all of your stitches, I told you to pull on it just to loosen up that final stitch. So if it's still pulling too much, go through and either widen it a little bit more, or you can chain one additional stitch. You're going to do that. If you're going to chain one, then do it on the row where you have the knot. So on a row 1 repeat, just chain an additional stitch. So instead of yarn over, pull through 1, you're going to chain, chain, and then complete the yarn over, pull through 2, yarn over through 2, and so forth. If not, just add a little bit more space between the stitching, and that should fix the problem. But that's it. So there you go. That is square number 5 for our sampler afghan. Thank you so much for watching, and if you haven't subscribed yet, hit the subscribe button because, well, we all love crochet here. If you want to see more of my work, you can always swing by my Instagram page, that's @mode.bespoke, or you can stop by my website where you can find all of the patterns that I feature here on the channel, and I think several others actually that I don't have a tutorial for. But go check that out, that's modebespoke.com. All the links are available down in the description box below. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you again next week.